I knew that girl was not gone. I knew Marjorie Taylor Greene was not gone upon the stage. She wants to be a kingmaker. Hmm. This Marjorie Taylor Greene lady, wow. This lady right here, she just put Donald Trump right in the crosshairs, didn't she, though? Because it's no longer about Epstein, it's about the power of all of those powerful people, the loyalty, and all of that. She just came out and really said, the truth. And maybe she didn't understand what she was doing, how she was doing it. Maybe she did, maybe she did. I don't know. But she just told us that she just confirmed everything that we knew, that the president, none of the stuff that he said during his political campaign was the truth. He was running to make sure that A, he wouldn't get exposed, his friends wouldn't get exposed, he would make enough money where nothing would matter if he had enough money. Everything that this president has told people has just been him setting himself up, and he told people what they wanted to hear in order to get elected. Because she talked to him behind closed doors. I almost felt sorry for her when she finally realized that this president really, really, really never really intended to keep any of the promises that he made to the regular, ordinary individual people. And he said what he had to say to get the people on side. Because I know that I saw a recording of this president one time saying that the Republican Party was one of the dumbest parties, and only them would be able to put him in a position in order to run and be elected if he became the Republican nominee. Because they weren't, it was something related to that. They were a dumb party and they were going to elect him as their representative. I know that I heard that somewhere. But this right here is Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now I figured out why she quit. She quit because Donald Trump lied to the American people, and she figured it out. And she said the whole thing was a scam. That's why she keeps saying MAGA was a scam, MAGA wasn't real, because Donald Trump told her, between her personal meeting with Donald Trump and talking to him, she figured out what we on the left already knew, that he was actually a scammer. And this is why she quit. And this is why she's going hard against the Donald Trump and anything he represents, because he doesn't represent the American people. He never did. He never wanted to represent the poor people. He just told people what they wanted to hear. If I tell you that if I'm white and you're white, and I tell you all them immigrants is taking your jobs, all the immigrants is taking your work, taking your housing, taking everything, and you sympathize with me and you look at me and I'm the same as you, you're going to sympathize with me. And this is what he did. She figured it out. That's why she quit. And remember, somewhere in one of these interviews when she got offline, she quit, she said MAGA wasn't real, or MAGA was a scam, or she said something to that effect, because she figured it out.
Most Republicans did not care. Most Republicans in Congress today didn't care what happened to you. They didn't care what was happening to anyone. And they were doing literally nothing to stop it. But I went on the forefronts and fought those fights because I truly believed in MAGA and America first, specifically America first. And I thought that is what MAGA is or was, and fought for the president. And
See, y'all see what she said? She said, I thought that's what MAGA was or is, because she figured it out. It was a scam that the president started to get people to vote for him. And he never really was for the poor people. She was the biggest MAGA person out there. Tell me I'm lying. She was the biggest MAGA person out there. And she figured out that the president started the shit, the MAGA movement, but he don't care about the regular ordinary people. He never did. He only cared about running so he wouldn't go to prison. That's why he hasn't done anything for the regular ordinary individual, the people who have the grievance. All you hear about MAGA saying is get those immigrants out, get those people out, blah, blah, blah. The president just scammed people into doing that. This president divided the country into immigrants and non-immigrants just so he wouldn't go to jail, just so he wouldn't get exposed as a person, a pedophile in the Epstein files. His friends wouldn't get exposed. It was never real. That's what Marjorie Taylor Greene found out. It was never real. MAGA was just some movement that the president grabbed a hold to, and he dragged them people in there, but he never really believed in the movement. That's fucked up.
And so for in 1 year's time to go from being his literally most loyal, most ardent, loudest supporter in Congress, to only, I voted with him 98% of the time. That's another thing. 98% of the time. I have never voted with the Democrats except on the discharge petition to release the Epstein files, and voting with a few Democrats, only 4 of them, to defund Israel. And so that was shocking to me, to have the president call me a traitor. And it wasn't a traitor to the country. He meant a traitor to him. And then say that he was going to primary me the same way they are primarying Thomas Massie. And for me, it was so shocking on such an important issue, the Epstein files, which I still do believe that was one of the core tenet principles of our movement, was releasing the Epstein files, because that stood for everything else: transparency of every type of government crime against the country and against individuals, and the cover-ups and the corruption. And the Epstein files is like literally the perfect example of that. But it was the death threats also that came in from his threats and his name calling that was absolutely unbelievable. I'm used to a lot of death threats on myself, but the ones that came in on my son were particularly hurtful and shocking to me. And this was only 2 months after Charlie Kirk had been assassinated. And you have to be very, in today's political environment, after seeing Charlie Kirk assassinated, especially after we saw President Trump shot on the stage in Butler, I'm too aware of what can happen, what can and possibly would have happened. But it was also a matter of my own integrity and saying,
because she knew, because she figured it out. she figured it out. But see, the thing was, Trump turned on her. Hey, you. Trump turned on her, but she figured out. Here's the thing. And I know that it had to have gone this way. Why does she keep saying in interviews that it was MAGA, or what was MAGA, or I don't believe in MAGA, or X, Y, and Z? She says that because it never really was a movement on her on the level that she wanted to be on. She wanted to be MAGA, and she wanted to really truly believe in the MAGA, and she thought it was about the truth and the honesty and blah blah blah, and come to find out it's not like that. For them, there's a loyalty to Trump. For her, the line in the sand was those women, her other issues. But she only picked the other issue, the women in Epstein, is because she found out that there was nobody really behind the fucking curtain in the Wizard of Oz. In the Wizard of Oz, there was really no Wizard of Oz. It was just a sad, pathetic old man called Donald Trump who scammed people into believing what he wanted them to believe. He don't believe any of the shit that he's saying to the American people. He doesn't believe any of that shit. He believes in covering and protecting his rich ass and his rich friends. They all belong in the same particular bucket. They want us to believe that it's all about race. What it's really all about is about the money and the friendship and this whole rich thing. Marjorie Taylor Greene quit because she knows the truth. She knows that Donald Trump is a scammer. She knows that. That's why she quit.
My goodness, after all I've done for this man, after all I've done for Republicans as a whole, paying all of my dues to the NRCC. I mean, I went in and was doing my best to be a team player, support the party. And that's something that most Republicans never pay all of their dues to the NRCC. They just don't. They either pay partial dues, a few do finish paying them out, and some never pay them all together. But I did. I paid them all. And but to be cast aside like that over the Epstein files, it was too much of a demand, especially after sending the death threats on my own son to the president. I sent those death threats to President Trump, J.D. Vance, Kash Patel, James Blair, the Deputy Chief of Staff, and Susie Wiles. And J.D. Vance was incredibly compassionate and kind, and said we do everything he can to help. Kash Patel said he was on it. So I assumed, okay, hopefully the FBI will look into this. James Blair never replied to my message, and Susie Wiles never replied to my message. This is a woman, a mother, and a grandmother herself. But it was President Trump's replies that were shocking, extremely hurtful, and he basically blamed me blamed me so that if my own son is assassinated, he said it was your fault. Mm-hmm. And basically that my son and that we would deserve this.
See, she is not a cabinet official. She's not Pam Bondi. She's not Kash Patel. The Bongino dude, he was a low level, whatever he was. I don't know what he was. He quit because on his podcast, he kept saying, we're going to expose the Epstein file. We're going to expose it. He had opportunity to see him. Don't you think that man went through them Epstein files and got access? He got access as soon as he could get access. You can't tell me that Bongino didn't have access. Okay? So he knew. That's why Bongino was out of there. He was like, oh, hell no. I ain't finna help y'all. But I know I can't tell nobody. Because I can't tell nobody because they would come after me if I blew it up like this. Marjorie Taylor Greene also found out about the Epstein files. She also found out that Trump didn't care about the American people. Not really. He don't care about, people keep saying he doesn't care about the American people. He just doesn't. He hasn't done anything for the regular, everyday, ordinary American anyway. He's only done things for the rich cabal, the rich group of people that he's protecting. And Trump is protecting this whole pedophile ring. Trump is in on the ring. He's one of the people that are in on the ring. Okay. It just is obvious that he's in on the ring. He knows who's in the ring. There's no exposure. He didn't expose nobody. He didn't do none of that. People keep thinking that he exposed Epstein. He never exposed Epstein. They already knew about Epstein. They already knew about all of that. Okay. He didn't do anything out of the ordinary. People keep thinking that's it. Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't turn on him. Marjorie Taylor Greene just decided she had to make a calculus because it was going to blow up in her face if she didn't. And then she found out that Trump was involved with the Trump. Somehow she found out that Trump was a part of the files. She did.
And this is for releasing the Epstein files, standing with women who were raped as teenage girls, releasing the Epstein files that now everybody sees what's in them. And there's still like several million more files to be released. And from my understanding, they're worse. So I think everyone today can see that I did the right thing, and I should never be treated this way, the way I've been treated. I certainly did not quit on my district, but the bar was set too high for my own integrity, to stay in a system that I find to be literally completely broken, to be a complete failure. And
because she knows that the system is run by rich white men who are part of that whole cabal thing. She knows that.
Betrayal of the American people. That's what our government is a betrayal and a failure to the American people. And to serve under a president that would treat me so incredibly wrong after I had been so good and loyal to him. And it was just too much, absolutely too much. I haven't changed. Nothing about me has changed, but somehow over a course of a year, the definition of MAGA and the issues that it supposedly stood for changed. And so that's where I'm at. But I know I made the right decision. It was the right decision for me and my family, and it's been a good move.
A lot to unpack there. To put a lid on the AOC thing, just this week she was arguing to an audience, some liberal conference she was at, that we need to restore all the foreign aid that Trump has cut off. She was arguing. I was like, oh my gosh,
Okay.
she really completely sold out to the foreign interests. But
well, she's definitely running for either Senate or president. Then you can count on that.
I wouldn't be surprised if we are seeing a Newsom Cortez ticket in 2028. Yeah. That's kind of my expectations.
Yep.
You know, you bring up a couple of the issues right here with MAGA and Epstein, and it does all seem to be connected. You know, live by the Epstein files, die by the Epstein files.
Mm-hmm.
There was kind of this, it seems like there was this concept that we could insert releasing the Epstein files as part of the campaign culture. Obviously, Patel talked about it at length. Dan Bongino talked about it at length. And then they get in there.
But you have to think, Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are actually in charge of those divisions, of those particular jobs. They in charge of everything. Bongiorno, I keep saying his name wrong. Bongino, whoever, he was just an underling somewhere along the way. She's just a congresswoman somewhere along the way. They don't care about that. You can quit those kind of jobs. Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are right there next to power. When you right there next to power, you're going to hesitate before you quit. And I get it. It is what it is. So she figured it out. Gino figured it out. He figured it out. Marjorie Taylor figured it out. It ain't nothing new. She knows more than what she's saying. She just doesn't want to come right out and say, yeah, your president is a scammer. Your president scammed the American people. The president just cares about his rich friend because that's all he cares about. That is all that he has. That is all that he has helped since he's been in the White House. I don't know how obvious it could be to people. Okay, Bongino. I don't understand how this is not obvious to everybody now that this is what the president, this was his agenda. Okay. His agenda was to run so he wouldn't go to prison. Once he got in, he had all his rich friends, because that's all he has been pushing. Tell me I'm a liar. All he pushed every day, all day, was y'all need to get that big, beautiful bill done. I need to get them tax cuts for them rich folks. I need to do that. Somebody said, people still ain't said nothing about how they tax refund look like. Do they tax refund look any different than what it did last year? Is it any more or less than that? Yeah, that is exactly what happened, Black America. That's exactly what happened. She knows what's in the Epstein file. They have access to the Epstein file. They have access to them. She found out what was in the Epstein file. She didn't need to go no further. Somebody told her, either one of those women, she heard it from somebody in that atmosphere. She found out the truth. And then she confronted President Trump. She confronted President Trump because she was a MAGA. She was one of the MAGA people. Okay. She was one of the MAGA people. And for her to step out and then go against him and support them women, she had to know the truth. She had to know the truth. You mean to tell me you don't know as a congresswoman that there's rich and powerful people behind not wanting this information to come out? You mean to tell me you have access to all the tools in the toolbox, and you act like you don't? You're trying to tell me she don't have access to that? She had access to everything. Her and Bongiorno. Why the hell would Gino quit his job? Why would you quit your job, Gino? Why would you quit your job? Because you know you can't say nothing and work there. You know you can't say nothing when you work in the administration. You have to be loyal under the administration. So you're going to quit out. This is what he said. I want to get back to my podcast job. How the hell anybody who has a job in government, high up in the government, say they want to quit their job and go work on the podcast? Don't nobody fucking say that. Nobody says that. He quit so he wouldn't be a hypocrite and deal with that. His conscience, just like she said, her conscience is why she had to quit. Because I couldn't live with it. Because you know the truth. Y'all know the truth.
And it's like, okay, we do get some of the files, but it's like they don't want to do it. It's like it's a very like we're begging and pleading, like, hey, you said they would. They don't really seem interested in doing it. It feels like it's a struggle session. And quite frankly, I don't even think it's up to them. To me, it looks like the DOJ is not even in Trump's control. I think the Epstein files are all about attacking Iran. I think this is a public blackmail campaign on Trump or his administration to get.
You see the goofy logic. There's no blackmail, black. There's no kind of thing. He feels like this is some kind of black. No, it's a ring. Why do you think all across the world people are quitting their job? People in high professions are quitting their job. They're getting fired from their job. They're asking to be told to get away from that. We don't want you to work here. Why do you think people are doing that? Because they're already mentioned in the files. These people are in the files. These people, I'm not saying these people around the world were doing anything wrong. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is if your name is mentioned and you've sent emails and you're friendly with Epstein, that means you're a pedo protector. That means you protected a pedophile. And why would you protect a pedophile? Because they either had something on you or you were just a degenerate like they were. All of these people, not particularly friends, but they all had one thing in common. They like to get naked with little kids. Or they like little kids to do X, Y, and Z. Okay. And all of them are there. I just did two damn videos about people getting fired or people quitting their job like America because of the Epstein file. It's on my page. I just did two things. Okay. And all of these people are quitting or getting fired. Okay. This is wild. And she knows it.
Them to strike Iran. Now we see there's more military personnel surrounding Iran, so it could be inevitable any day now. Maybe we can get back to that because I want to go to something that you just said. It seems like Trump's loyalty only goes one way. It's like Trump's loyalty only goes one way, and that's you have to be loyal to him all the time, and he doesn't really necessarily have to be loyal to you. Now you had a much more personal relationship with Trump. My relationship with Trump was more activism, more in the media. And I don't have any regrets. I don't take anything personally with that. But I do find it strange, and here's why. And this is also what you're alluding to, which is so strange. How is it that all of these never Trumpers, specifically the loudest being a Ben Shapiro, a Mark Levin, or you can even go and look at the National Review. They did a whole profile story on their cover story. Republicans against Trump, conservatives against Trump.
Yep.
Dana Lesh was on there, a bunch of people. And now this is like the new MAGA that's gatekeeping people. This is the new MAGA that's judging people, who gets in, who gets out, finger pointing, finger wagging, again, trying to reject us, even though it was our movement that they've now co-opted fine, you can
Yep.
have it. It's not what we wanted. So okay, I guess this is what it is. But it is really strange. It's almost like Twilight Zone now. Every time you look up, it was all the most ardent never Trumpers.
Mhm.
We're not just never Trumpers in politics. I mean, they were like hardcore anti-Trump. They would insult him. They would
Yeah.
demean him. They would be
Yep.
they were nasty. And now these are the people that are all running around MAGA and celebrating how great it is. And the people that fought and suffered for the movement and for Trump are on
That's
the
right.
outside, got thrown overboard. And it's just like, okay.
Because y'all ain't got no money. Y'all ain't got no money and y'all don't mean jack shit. That's why. Because y'all don't mean nothing. He used you for what he could use you for. That's why. He needed you for a certain thing. He needed to be on your side. He needed to be friends with you so that you can get him elected. That's what he needed from you. That's wild. And it's like, look, people are going to find out as time goes on that this president has done everything possible to stop these files from coming out. He's done everything possible.
And now you're mad at us because you're going to lose the midterms? Like you're the ones that told us you don't want us. You literally said you don't want our vote. You literally tossed us overboard, and now you're going to lose the midterms, and you're going to be pointing at us and blaming us? Like what?
Right. Yeah, no, you're 1,000% right. That is the right way to think. And, those of us that fought the hardest to get him elected, well, we are right to say, no. When things are not moving in the direction that they're supposed to, that we all worked hard to achieve, that we all fought to regain power and control of our government, it's okay. And it's the right thing for people like us to say, no, this is what we promised. We said no more foreign wars, no more regime change. Okay, we have to stick with that. That's what we promised. But as soon as it changed and went in that direction, that's when all the never Trumpers and the biggest Trump haters came on board. And here's why, Owen. Washington, D.C., no matter who is in charge, Republicans or Democrats, it is going to get its way. That's because this government is controlled by major industries. It's controlled by some of the richest people in the world. Those are the highest and most powerful donors. And they donate to Democrat presidents and Republican presidents. I mean, it's very simple. You can look at the big tech meeting in the White House, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, all those guys. They become the biggest donors no matter who the president is. And this city is run by those people and those powerful industries and the lobbyists that represent them. And so every member of Congress and pretty much every member of Congress almost, and pretty much the entire Senate is controlled by those same big, powerful donors and those big, powerful industries. And that's why you see what we call the uniparty. That is the uniparty. And that's why you see the same result no matter which party is in power. There's always foreign wars. There's always funding of foreign countries. There's always funding for these military industrial complex, big pharma, the big ag. You always see all the same industries receiving exactly what they want in legislation, receiving all the funding that they need, big tech, et cetera, because those are the ones that donate the most money and those are the biggest industries.
Yeah, and they're part of that elite group. She found that out. You wanted to fight against whatever was going on there. You can't fight against whatever's going on there. You just hope that there's a party that does what you wanted to do. Okay, if I'm going to get paid to do something, then if this is what I want to do. I want to give people health care. I want to give people free college. I want to give people free school lunches. I want to give people free health care, whatever. You need to find a donor that'll give you the money to do free health care. You need to find a donor that does that, or a donor will find you. All of these people in Washington have donors. They have people that give them money. Okay, so she understands the money is what influences people. What's going to happen if you do what you want to do? You need to make sure that you let your intentions be known from the beginning when you go in there. People run into Washington and say, I'm not going to get paid off of these rich people. These rich people ain't going to tell me what to do. And they all end up getting told what to do. Marjorie Taylor Greene is just one of those people who happen to find out that the president is just another person that does what the donors want him to do. He's just another person. She thought, oh, he going to help the common man. All that president has done since he been elected this session is get that big, beautiful bill turned around. They ain't got nothing else put out there for the regular, ordinary, everyday American. The ordinary, everyday, common American wants free health care, free schooling, free lunch for the kids, minimum wage raised, fair tax system. That's all regular, ordinary person want. But why is it that neither party want to do that? Because they know. Because she knows and she found out. You could fight all you want to. It ain't going to happen. Ain't nobody talking about no sex change retarded Jason Beatrice. Ain't nobody talking about that. Shut your ass up about that.
And those are the people that are in their pockets. And then you've got the media companies that also fall right in line. Fox News is one of the worst. They are literally straight up neocons.
What? She calling out the propaganda machine, Fox News? She's calling out the Fox News crowd? Oh my God. She telling all the tea.
Major rhinos, if they're even, and I'm not talking about all of the ones that we see on television. Some of them are some really great people. But as far as the executives and the producers are concerned, they're going to make sure that they are preaching the talking points that they want to spoon fed to their mainly boomer audience every single day, 24/7.
We know that. Hey, welcome to the party, Major MTG. Welcome to the party. We know that that's all they do over at Fox News is spew out the talking points so they can make sure that the old white crowd still has all that grievance and resentment, and they scared of the immigrants, and they scared of the blacks, and they scared of movement, they scared of change, they scared of anything that Fox News tells them. Anybody who listens to Fox News under the age of 40, you're a retard.
And they won't cover certain stories. They won't have certain people. They never had me on. I was the type of Thomas Massey. They'll never have him on. We're the type of Republicans they don't want to have on. They'd rather have on Fetterman every single day and make sure Fetterman never loses an election in Pennsylvania, no matter how hard Scott Presler tries to flip that Senate seat. They're going to make sure Fetterman stays in power because Fetterman's going to demand that funding goes to Israel. And that's how I'm just giving a few examples of how this place works. The people do not control the government because you can't donate enough money. You can't, you don't have a big enough company. You're just a small fish. And
we understand. We understand that they are beholden to their donors. And the regular, everyday, average American person can't get a fucking leg up unless that's the agenda that you start with. You hope one of them do one thing. You hope one of the parties does one thing or does this or does that. There's no hope for the Republican Party to help you get free health care. Republicans don't give a fuck about no free health care, raising the minimum wage, getting free college, free school lunches, a fair tax. They don't care about none of that. So you can't look to the Republicans to get any of those things that help the regular, ordinary American people. Your only hope would be the Democrats who said they want to do something like that. But you damn sure can't depend on the Republicans to do it because they're not going to do it. So you ass out. When you vote for Republican, that's all you're going to get is tax cuts for the rich. Shut your ass up. This sound dumb as hell. Seeing as how Obama did Obamacare. This sound dumb as hell.
bond. And so they want to continue, and it's a two-party political industrial complex. And so the Democrats and the Republicans feed each other hate and tell you to be afraid of the other side. So they move Americans to get out and vote in these elections.
Of course, that's what they do. We know that's what they do. They tell them that what they did the last election cycle, what Trump did the last election cycle, was tell most of you goofies that the immigrants took your jobs, that the immigrants was taking your money, that the immigrants were making the country bad, that the immigrants were doing X, Y, and Z. That's all you heard 24/7. Get rid of the immigrants because the immigrants was ruining the country. As I said, when you listen to that shit, when you figure out it's bullshit, which is what she figured out, that it's bullshit, then you come out of that fucking MAGA dream.
And that's how the system is built, and it's incredibly corrupt. And I think many Americans today got to see a deep look into the nastiness of it and who the players are in these Epstein files. And it revealed exactly what the president told me on the phone when he was very angry at me back in September, yelling at me because I refused to take my name off the discharge petition. And he said, Marjorie, my friends are going to get hurt. Well,
you see that? My friends are going to get hurt. Not the American people. Not I couldn't be the president that saved all of these women who got abused. I can't be that president. I got to cover up for my rich friends. I got to cover up for my rich friend. Now she's out here. Now she got her head cracked. See, when you come out of that MAGA bubble, when you come out of that goofy bubble, this is what it looks like. You see everything clearly now. She sees everything, and she was the biggest MAGA. So that tells me she got her head whacked. Somebody whacked her head against the wall and told her, you need to wake up because they lying to you, and she figured it out. That's the only reason why she would have got out of there, is that she figured that shit out. And the bubble burst. Somewhere in Congress, the bubble burst for her. When did the MAGA bubble burst for her? I don't know. But it busted at one point. And I believe it was when she figured out that Trump was really in those Epstein files and that Trump really was hiding pedophiles. And he was a pedophile.
Lo and behold, look at the Epstein files. My goodness. And it's I think it's hard for a lot of people because they're so good-hearted, and they have been a believer in Donald Trump for like over 10 years now. I certainly have always been one of those people too, and they have a hard time believing that he would turn his back on them. What?
Of course they have a hard time believing it, honey. He ain't never been looking at y'all. No way. He's only been looking at his rich donor base. He is a part of that pedophile ring. He is a part of that rich ring. Wait a minute, hold up. Donald Trump is a shitty human being. He's always been a shitty human being. That's all you got to do is go back and read stuff about him in the past. He's always been a shitty human being. Money just made him even more of a shitty human being. Money just meant he could go overseas and be a shitty human being. Money just meant that he could buy people to use people to get what he wanted. It just made him even more of a shitty human being. Money don't make you a shitty human being. Money just helped pull it out of you. He's always been a shitty human being. She figured that out. The bubble was busted. She was in a MAGA bubble, like a lot of goofies are still in the MAGA bubble, because you wouldn't be defending that president on any level if you weren't in the bubble. So if you defending them, you in that bubble still. But she figured out that she had to get the hell on. Soon as she figured out, this is some bullshit. Donald Trump is right here. She's saying it right here. Listen. She's saying, listen.
They have been a believer in Donald Trump for like over 10 years now. I certainly have always been one of those people too. And they have a hard time believing that he would turn his back on them? What?
It's hard
Look,
to believe the betrayal. I mean, let's
it's
just say
hard to believe.
the
Yes.
level of betrayal is so high that it's hard to believe.
What's the betrayal? Please say it out loud, MAGA goon. Please say it out loud. What's the betrayal? I've only told you the betrayal from day one. He's a scammer. He's just a rich scammer. And he scammed all of these MAGA people. He jumped onto that. He jumped onto that whole MAGA thing. And he ain't never been a part of the MAGA thing. He just had y'all believing it. These two right here are big MAGA goons. Very big MAGA goons. And they saying to you, MAGAs that are still in the goofy crowd, they saying to you that it's that he's a scammer. That's what they saying. He's been a scammer. We knew he was a scammer. Us on the left knew he was a scammer.
And if you didn't have this mindset, I said this right after the election. I said, take note of this. I said, remember what you stand for, not who you stand for. You got to remember the what, not the who, because if you lean into the who, you're going to end up getting betrayed and denying it.
Yeah. And in saying that, like, let's point something out. I am so for secure borders. I think the admin has done an incredible job. My gosh. But you want to know something? I don't think that's something I should have to beg for. And I impeached Alejandro.
Sense. It's like you shouldn't. That shouldn't even be a victory. I mean, okay, we accepted it, victory, but it's like that should be the standard.
That should be the standard, no matter which party is in charge, because that's what we pay taxes for, and that is what our laws say. That's our immigration policies.
And why is it Mayorkas arrested? Can I let me just add that into the frame here? The fact that Mayorkas hasn't had his ass.
Yeah. Why do you think the Clintons, Biden, whoever? Why do you think none of those people went to prison? Why do you think all the poor smucks underneath them went to prison? Why do you think all the smucks underneath all of these rich people went to prison? All of the smucks underneath went to prison or jail or got time or got some charges. Now one of the people that were rich, really rich, got charged because they're all in it together. It's all a part of a thing. They don't care what this American, they just want to be in charge. They don't care about the regular, average, everyday Joe Blow. They never did.
Pulled into a jail cell is ridiculous.
Yep. No, you're right. So I impeached Alejandro Mayorkas. Those were my articles of impeachment that passed the House floor. I had to fight Mike Johnson. I had to fight him and tell him, I'm going to bring a privilege resolution of articles of impeachment to the floor for a vote every single week until you actually pass it. And lo and behold, it took 2 months, but we finally got it passed. I should have never had to fight Republicans for that. But no, I agree. Owen, people pay taxes for this. This is what our government should be delivering for the people. We shouldn't have to beg and plead and say thank you. And Mayorkas belongs in prison because there's Americans that are dead.
I think you need to follow along. I think you need to listen a little bit more, Bud Russell, because you sound goofy as hell. I think I said that. Obama had the files. Biden had the files. Trump released the file. Trump is the only one who ran on releasing the file. Nobody else ran on releasing any files. Your Trump ran on releasing, but I don't give a fuck. If they not bothering me, I don't give a shit about releasing files. They wasn't bothering Obama or Biden or nobody else. Don't nobody give a fuck about them files. Nobody did. Nobody cared to release them files. They knew people. You think they don't know who's in the files? You think they don't know that these people, they know these people? Trump was the only goofy that ran on releasing the files. The rest of them was like, we ain't releasing shit. We know these rich motherfuckers. We ain't releasing shit. You think they was going to release them? No. Your goofy ass president was the one running on releasing the files. And he knew he was never going to agree to it. Now his ass sick because he had to agree to it now. Now he the one who finna expose everybody. And he wasn't even supposed to. He's the one who did it to himself. He did it to himself.
Today because of his open border policies. And no, there's no accountability from the Trump administration. None.
Yeah, and I think...
Why would he? You goofy goofies keep saying that it's Biden did it. Biden did it. Biden did it. That's all you hear on the MAGA. Biden did it. No, there ain't no accountability from Donald Trump. He's never had to take accountability all his life. He's never had to do it. He never had to pay any kind of consequences for his behavior. Not at all.
I wonder too, how much of that is when you talk about going up against Mike Johnson, and maybe it's a factor of two things. How much of that is like the pettiness in DC, where it's like, because you don't toe the political line, we're gonna make stuff difficult on you, and we're not gonna work with you. And how much of it is, hey, this is just how DC works. We're not trying to actually change things. These are just things we say during campaigns, and then when it's actually time to work, we don't want to change things. Is it both of those things? Is it more of one thing than the other?
It's both. No, it's absolutely both. Mike Johnson, everything that he does in the House is directly coordinated with the White House. People need to understand that. You can get mad at Mike Johnson, but if you're mad at Mike Johnson because he isn't passing certain bills and executive orders from the president, or he's way overblowing and spending too much of your tax dollars, everything that is passed on the House floor is in complete alliance with the White House. Nothing is going to the floor for a vote. Nothing is getting passed without Mike Johnson being told what to do by the White House. That is 100% fact. Leader Thune in the Senate, he is working everything he can in the Senate with their Senate majority in complete conjunction with the White House and Mike Johnson. So that is a unified unit. And if you don't like the results, let me tell you something, it's the White House you need to be talking to. And the same thing goes for the Department of Justice. If you're mad at Pam Bondi and you're demanding why isn't she investigating these people in the Epstein files?
Right.
Why isn't she targeting people in the Biden administration that locked up Americans?
Right.
Like parents that held their school boards accountable, pro-lifers that just prayed at an abortion clinic and got thrown in jail, J6ers that had their lives ruined, they're completely bankrupt, lost their marriages, lost their jobs, ruined their reputations. If you're mad because nothing is being done there, that is directly with the White House. Pam Bondi, she serves at the pleasure of the president and his administration, and those there are telling her, here's who you can prosecute. No, don't do this. I mean, they told her that the Epstein files, that fight to release the Epstein files came directly from President Trump. And I know a lot of people have a hard time with that, but that is the truth. He fought the hardest to stop these files from being released. And
he fought the hardest for them not to release the file. We knew that. Of course, he didn't want those files exposed. He's in the files. He's in the files. His friends are in the files. His best friend was in the file. They're all in the files. And these women, look, if people say, I'm going to hurt you, look, Thomas Massie was threatened by Kash Patel. Thomas Massie was threatened by Kash Patel and his goons. Told Massie, shut your ass up. And Massie was like, I am not suicidal. I am not sick or hurt or anything else. And he didn't come right out and say it, but he said, if anything happened to me, it's because these goofies over here trying to do some crazy shit. He put out a tweet that said, I ain't suicidal. I ain't sick. I ain't hurt. I ain't nothing. So if anything, he didn't say if anything happened to me, but basically that's what he was saying. These people will threaten you and your family. Let some female come directly out and say, Donald Trump did X, Y, and Z. Ain't no female come forward because they sent goons out to stop them from saying anything. You think, I don't understand why the hell it would even not occur to half the people or the bulk of y'all that obviously Trump is in the files. Why you would not even think that he is, even though he's in there and he's been mentioned many times. This is what she's saying. You can't talk, and these people are scared. So many people are scared to say anything.
The only reason that he signed our bill that we passed in the House was because he had to. It became a massive political problem. Biggest political miscalculation in Donald Trump's career was calling this a hoax, fighting the release of it, and having Mike Johnson, the speaker, refuse to bring the bill to the floor, to the point where Thomas Massey, myself, Nancy Mason, Lauren Boebert actually had to vote with all of the Democrats to get it released, to get it, the discharge petition passed, so that the bill could come to the floor. Never forget all the other Republicans that voted finally to get these files released. They did not do it because they didn't do it, and they wouldn't have done it unless all of you people at home hadn't been losing your minds and talking about it and yelling about it every single day. My office got nonstop phone calls. It was unbelievable. I've never had that many phone calls on any other issue during that time, during that big fight, than the Epstein files. That was it. It was the number one issue every single day in and day out, was release the Epstein files. And that's how you all did it. I really need to get that across, Owen. You and everyone watching this, and people all over the country that were pissed off on both sides of the aisle. It was Republicans and Democrats. It was the most unifying issue because of your anger. That's how that happened. And that's why the president signed it. It wasn't because he fully supported it, because he didn't. His friends are in the Epstein files. It was because of the public pressure.
Well, and the cover up is still ongoing. I don't want to spend too much time on this one, because I think a lot of people who understand the dynamics of it now. But I will say, I wonder if this Trump loyalty is not going to start waning soon. I mean, Johnson might be fully, he might be fully bought in, but I'm already seeing signs that Republicans in the Senate are starting to, because you know how it is in D.C.
Oh, yeah.
Now, which way is the wind blowing? As soon as they realize that, Trump's approval ratings are starting to reflect the general Republican electorate, I have a feeling that some of that loyalty might start to wane. And I think that they just keep underestimating this stuff, Marjorie. They keep underestimating this stuff, just like they called us panicans last April when we were warning about the midterms, and they said, we don't need your vote, we're fine. And now here they are all freaking out about the midterms. Trump's sending out emails like, oh, tell me how much you love me, help me. It's like, yeah, okay, well, you called us panicans. Look at you now. It looks like you're panicking. Right. I do want to ask you something, though. We're seeing this, what appears to be a major scandal, and I can't tell if it really is this big of a scandal or maybe if it is normal, but the committee that went in there to look at the Epstein files was being spied on by Pam Bondi. And she even came, I'm sure you saw, with her binder. She was dumb enough to show it to the national media in 4K now, is what we say. It used to be in HD, now it's in 4K. Right. So she showed the entire media in 4K that she was spying on these members of the committee and exactly what they were looking at, what they were searching inside of these files. There's kind of some argument on both sides of this that, oh, it's normal. I'm not so sure. I go to you for this. Is this normal? Is that normal stuff? Is this something we could be expected when you go into these SCIFs and look at this classified information? Or is this a big scandal? Is Bondi having a binder of opposition research for this hearing this week? Instead of actually getting prepared to answer questions, she's there with a binder of opposition research to attack instead of answer questions. Is that as big of a scandal as I feel like it is? Or is it kind of, well, there is some normalcy there?
I'd never seen that happen. So I served on the COVID Select Committee. We read all kinds of documents. And I never was in a situation where I was told that the documents and the information that I read was tracked. I was also on the Oversight Committee, and we led the investigation into the Biden family and all of their corruption.
Still no arrests.
Of course, there's not going to be any arrest. Of course, there's not going to be any arrest. So there ain't no point y'all even talking about it.
Exactly. And we went to the Treasury and read all these SARS reports, the bank reports that were sent to the Treasury based on all type of suspected fraud and illegal activity that the Biden family was involved in. And that was while Joe Biden was president. And I was never aware of any of the information that, I mean, it was, oh my gosh, binders and binders of information. I was never made aware or told by any Biden administration official anyone that what we read had been tracked.
So it sounds to me, because my instincts when I was first watching it, and maybe we can get into let's get into the Bondi stuff now.
Mhm.
When I was first watching the hearing, I noticed that she kept going to her binder. Now, obviously, when you're getting ready to do a hearing like this,
Yeah.
you have a binder. You're prepared to
Yes.
answer questions, whatever. You come
Yeah.
as prepared as you can be. And sometimes the members of the committees might even let you know, hey, here's what I want to know, so you can really prepare.
It's a lot. I mean, in all fairness, we have to say, yes, you have
Yeah.
to be
Yeah,
prepared.
so it's not, being prepared, having a binder. There was nothing odd about that.
No.
But as the hearing went on, I started to notice that every time she referenced her binder, and perhaps the most embarrassing one, and I guess this was either right from Trump or her trying to mimic Trump, when she said, hey, don't talk about pedophiles, let's talk about the stock market. That was probably the most.
Her job, Pam Bondi's job, is to cover the president. That is not what an attorney general is supposed to do. An attorney general is supposed to serve at the behest of the American people. She is the American people's lawyer. But apparently she acts like she's the personal lawyer of Donald Trump. But then the other day, I saw a picture of her as a young lady standing next to Donald Trump. They look cozy to me, but that's just me.
Most embarrassing of them all. That was literally, you can see she's reading off notes. She took that
The
note.
Dow is
in her-
over 50,000.
At least Pam
That's going to
Bondi
be my
gave us,
excuse from now on.
I
If
was
I get
gonna
pulled over, if I get pulled over, I'm going to be like, I may have been speeding officer, but the Dow is over 50,000.
No, Marjorie, I got you here. When if Brian looks at the credit card bill and there's some expenses on there, say, but honey, the Dow. Did you
The
see?
Dow.
At least. Yeah, I mean, at least I'll give Bondi credit. She gave us a forever meme. She gave
I
us a
love it.
legendary meme. But she looked,
Yeah.
that was from her notes. That was something she came in from with her notes right out of the gates. And so I'm observing this, and I noticed that every time she went to her notes, it was opposition research. So she gets a question from Ted Lieu. She gets a question from Jaya Paul, whatever. And we all know Mike Johnson told the Republicans not to ask about the Epstein files. So she knew she didn't have to look at that from the Republican side. So what she did was opposition research. Every time a Democrat asked about the Epstein files, she pulled up the name of a criminal that got arrested in their district and held up a mugshot. So that was her response.
Yeah, but that was her whole thing. That was her stick. That's her stick. The binder argument, that's optics based. Of course. Optics looked bad. She looked bad. Everything looked bad. She sounded like a fangirl. It was embarrassing all around the world. It was embarrassing. Pam Bondi is an embarrassment. She should be fired. But then you have them doing all the things that are not following all the guidebook around what an attorney general is supposed to act like. So they just going around that. She's his best friend. She does everything he wants her to do. She wasn't trying to help in any way, shape, or form. She didn't want to talk about the Epstein file. Somebody told her, don't talk about them files. Something in those files. Something is in those files, and people are going to start to piece all of this together. We already know that there's a whole bunch of people in the file. People have been quitting all over the globe. Quitting, getting fired all over the globe because they were in the Epstein files, and it didn't look appropriate for these people to be in these files. Okay? Donald Trump is in the files. Okay? And Pam Bondi is the gatekeeper to those files. Well, she's a gatekeeper, but I think they redacted a lot of that stuff, though.
Yeah, so number one, that was on the Judiciary Committee.
And I already knew that was suspicious. But then it gets worse. Then we see the 4K images where she was actually spying on it, and she knew every single move they made, at least limited to what we know. Every single move they made going in and looking at that classified information, she had that in her notebook. She had a binder of opposition research in this hearing, not to answer questions, to attack the people that asked.
Yeah. So again, I'll go back to, and this is the point that I'm telling you, people have got to understand this. Pam Bondi works for Donald Trump. She works for the president of the United States, directly under him. She's not just some independent attorney general that is going to seek justice, and no matter who the criminals are, she's going to put them in jail. That is not the situation that we're in right now. So once you can understand that truth, everything becomes understandable. So of course she defended the Dow is over 50,000 points. She's got to give that credit to the president. She's got to say things that put him in a good light and try to spin the narrative back in a positive way for him. And of course, she's going to sit there and have information that she can spin back when one of the members of Congress is asking her about something that they read, or a certain person whose name was, because the members of Congress saw the files unredacted. And so they saw names that no one's previously seen because it's been covered up. And so she was prepared to basically provide a defense for those people, because I'll go back, Owen, the president told me that his friends would get hurt. And, this is a group of people. And like, all of us have to come to grips with the fact that all of these people, President Trump was a Democrat.
Listen to what she got to say. This is the best part right here. Right here. This is one of the best parts.
Was a Democrat. All of his friends, many of them were Democrats.
All of his friends are the Democrats that are in those files. People keep saying, oh, those were Democrats in the file. He used to be a Democrat before he got a hold of you goofy goofies. What is it? MAGA Tea Party group. Before he got a hold of y'all, he was a Democrat until he figured out y'all was dumb enough to vote for him, according to him. And then that's when he became a Republican.
And Howard Lutnick was a Democrat.
I was gonna say, and he stands up for Bill Clinton now too.
Yes.
We went from lock her up to Bill Clinton is a good friend. He shouldn't have to question the Epstein files, which I've got my own theories on.
But they came to his wedding. The Clintons were at Donald Trump and Melania.
I wonder why. Whoa, they were really good friends a long time ago. They were really good friends. But you notice that Donald Trump never really went against Bill Clinton. He always went against Hillary Clinton. Never Bill. It was always Hillary.
Melania's wedding.
But just imagine, it's like, excuse me, President Trump, you're the president of the United States. Your job is not to protect your friends that were hanging out with a serial sex trafficker pedophile. That's not your job. And
I agree with that.
And here he is scolding you because you're like, hey, you need to do your job as president. You're not president to protect your friends that were involved with this crap.
Exactly. But here's so it's very hard, because it was hard for me realizing this, but I realized it because, believe me, it was in my face. I was living it real time. And I think this is what I want many people to understand is the American people are victims of the political industrial complex. What you see on television, the nasty fights that you see happen, the accusations where President Trump said on a debate stage, because you would be in jail, and he said that to Hillary Clinton. And how many times did we chant lock?
Oh, was he lying when he said all of that stuff? Is he lying? Is he pretending to be mad at all these people? Let's hear it.
Lock her up. We meant it. He did not mean it.
Of course he didn't mean it. Of course, because he's acting. Donald Trump has been acting from day one. He's been acting from day one. Like he's on the American regular people's side. He's not. He is a scammer. He is a person that has rich friends. He was an asshole rich friend then. He's an asshole now. He never cared about the American people. He only wanted to win the presidency so he wouldn't go to jail, so he could get all the power, fame, and money, all of those things.
And many times when you're seeing Democrats and Republicans in debates saying nasty things to each other, you don't know that behind the stage they shake hands and, hey, no hard feelings. And then they move on and talk about other things. The reality that is hard to swallow is that the group of people you're seeing in the Epstein files are the richest people in the world. They own the biggest companies. They have the most power and influence. They are political leaders or were former political leaders, but they really are the ones that pull the levers to most of the world's economy. And it's a cross mix of all types of people, and they are sincerely friends with each other. I just saw one today that Dr. Oz had invited Jeffrey Epstein to him and his wife's Valentine's Day party in 2016.
Yep.
Well, my goodness, Dr. Oz, this was after Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted pedophile.
Because they're friends. They always known each other. They've always been friends. Those are rich people against all of us poor people. That is the way that it is. And I sincerely believe that's why she quit, is because she figured out there was no fucking genie in the fucking behind the curtain. It was only Trump and his pedophile who liked to pet your baby girl's pussy behind the damn curtain. That's what she found out, and that's when she quit.
What are you doing inviting a convicted pedophile to you and your wife?
Because they're friends. They are friends.
Valentine's Day party, and who is he bringing to the party? Like
And they're all just jerky connoisseurs, Marjorie. They just like jerky.
Yeah.
No, it's you need to get your head around the fact that Donald Trump is one of them, and he doesn't care about the regular, ordinary individual people. It was just a game for him to win. He won. Him and Bill Clinton, all of those people have been friends for years. They have been in that whole. Why do you think Bill Clinton said, "Okay, go on, show the files"? You might tell me, you might show the fact that I like pretty girls, but you ain't gonna never find me fucking with no kids. Go on, show the files. Go ahead. I'm not saying all the people in the Epstein files are pedophiles. Ain't what I'm saying. What I am saying is those people that are in the file, they associated with Epstein after he was convicted. All of them were friends with him after he got convicted. They know, all of them know President Trump is in those files. He knows the people that are in the files. He knows everything. And Marjorie Taylor Greene found that out. That's why she quit. She was like, you a lame. You the one hiding everything. Wow. And you didn't mean none of this shit you said. Of course not. Of course not, goofy. That's why I call the MAGA crowd the goofy. Because you're the goofy. We already knew this with what he was. We just was hoping that it was more of us that went against him that went for him. But apparently, he can pull the wool over a lot of motherfuckers' eyes.
Yeah, apparently. But this is the hard part for people to understand. I mean, you've got.
I didn't say they were all wrong, Bumpy Jackson. I didn't say they were right or wrong. I said Bill Clinton. He may want the files released, and he may not be a pedophile. He's not, according to him. Maybe he ain't a pedophile. Maybe he just slept with women. I'm not saying. Sleeping with women is not the same thing as a pedophile. Let's be clear, okay? You could be in a pedophile. You could be in the Epstein files and be just a regular degenerate. There could be plenty of degenerates in the Epstein files. That don't mean you slept with kids, but you knew other people who did sleep with kids. Okay, that's all I'm saying. No, if I don't sleep with young kids, I'm not a pedo.
Howard Lutnick, who was Jeffrey Epstein's neighbor,
right?
Who also had a fundraiser for Hillary Clinton in 2016 when she was running against Donald Trump. And now, look at his position now. Scott Bessent, and I'm not knocking Scott Bessent. I actually think he's doing a pretty good job. He worked with George Soros. Like, you have to understand that all of these people, they're all socialized together. They're friends with each other. They've done business deals together. And that's why there is this massive cover-up of the Epstein files, because it exposes many people, and not all of them are guilty. I'm not saying all of them are guilty, but exposes many people to things that are extremely bad. And
yeah, this is what I'm saying. You can be in the Epstein files and not be a pedo. I'm sure there's plenty of people in the Epstein files that are not pedos, but they knew about the pedo ring. They knew about what was going on, but they aren't specifically pedos. So you can't, just because somebody's in the files doesn't make them a pedo. You can be a creep. You can be a degenerate, but that don't make you a pedo.
To a dark side that those of us that are called conspiracy theorists, that we all suspected all along and even had talked about. But it's showing the rest of the world that a lot of this stuff is true.
Yeah.
And the hardest part is you're fake.
Of course it's true. We know it's true. We just ain't got the proof. The Epstein files is some of the proof. It just is what it is. It's the proof of some of the people, not all of the people, but some of the people. We know it's a degenerate ring. We get all of that. We get that. But the thing is, do you by exposing your friends, you expose yourself? Okay. Bill Clinton can get his thing sucked off in the White House, but he didn't get his thing sucked off by a young girl. That's what I'm saying. Stop saying that shit.
Favorite guy was involved in that group. Now, let's talk about the women. The women consistently have said, and they told me over and over, they did not accuse President Trump. And I have consistently said the women said he did nothing wrong. Their attorney said that he was the only one that helped them. And that did come out in the Epstein files, that he's.
Yeah, but you got to understand. Now there's really, they just dumped the rest of the files out, I think Friday or Saturday. So now people are going through them files. They trying to find everything. Let's hope they redacted a whole bunch of that stuff, because I'm pretty sure they'll find out that Trump did X, Y, and Z. There's been a little snippets here and there that Trump did X, Y, and Z. So you will find out some more stuff.
The one that turned him in. So we have to be able to say all the truth at the same time and not have to live under a loyalty test.
Well, see, this is actually a great way. This was the next point that I was going to make.
Mm-hmm.
There's a new Trump derangement syndrome on the right now. There really is. And I actually think that the right-wing Trump derangement syndrome is now worse than the left-wing Trump derangement syndrome, where, I've been covering the.
No, I'm not going for the Trump derangement syndrome on the left. We don't have Trump derangement syndrome. We know he's a shitty person. You goofies got the Trump derangement syndrome. You goofies believe everything he say. You goofies didn't believe us from the beginning. We ain't never been delusioned about what was going on with the president. All of us knew he was a shitty human being. We on the left, we know he's a shitty human being. Y'all the ones that got to figure out shitty human being from a regular human being. Y'all got to figure that shit out. We ain't never had no TDS. That's just goofy. We've been done known he wasn't shit.
The Epstein files as much as anybody in the media to a nauseating degree, quite frankly, to the point where it almost makes you sick.
I mean, just as much as they've been covering Nancy Guthrie, you've been covering the Epstein files.
Well, I don't even know if anybody's covered anything as much as that,
right.
Which is questionable in and of itself.
Yeah.
But that aside.
And we do hope they find her, like just making a joke, but we do hope they find her either way.
So I've never implicated that Trump was involved in anything illegal. I was one of the first people to come out and say, no, it looks like he cooperated to eventually bring Epstein in. And there's this weird.
No, he didn't do that. Yeah, that's the best case scenario. Ain't no best case scenario because he didn't do that. They already knew what he was. Trump knew what he was years ago. Why didn't you say something years ago? Okay.
Weird Trump cult that still attacks me every day. And I'm like, okay, you guys, you're not even informed enough to know what I'm talking about. But okay, that aside, here's the Trump derangement syndrome on the right that I'm seeing. And I saw it again today. I think it was Bongino and a couple others. It's like they think everything is about Trump. All they can do is look at everything through the lens of Trump. And it's like, listen, man, the Epstein files aren't about Trump. Okay.
Right.
It's about an entire cabal of people that Jeffrey Epstein, a serial sex trafficker and pedophile, one of the most prolific on the planet, man.
Wait a minute. Did he just say that even Bongino keeps thinking it's all about Trump? Why is it that Bongino keeps thinking it's all about Trump? Didn't he work wasn't he in the know? Wasn't he in the know of knowing if it was about Trump or not? Why would you be saying it's all about Trump now? If you're out of the circle and you quit, why would you be pulling that? If you had access and you could have looked at the file, why you didn't know whether they were about Trump or not? Why are you out here saying they are about Trump? Because you know something and you ain't said nothing to nobody else. You're just trying to keep everybody on board with you and your theory. These two goofies right here are out of the loop. Marjorie Taylor she don't know what's exactly in the files, but she got an idea. Because why did the MAGA bubble burst? How did your bubble get bursted? That's the question I would like to know.
Managing all the billionaires' money mover and shaker to such a degree. He's organizing meetings and access to Hillary. He's organizing meetings and access to Israeli prime ministers. He's got passports all over the world. He's got women coming in and out, minors, all of this stuff. It's like, this isn't about Trump. And all they can do is sit here and it's like, how does this affect Trump? How can I help Trump? How can it? It's like, dude, you guys need to take the Trump cult glasses off for a second.
Right.
Yeah, y'all need to take them off and then admit that your buddy is crazy. That your Trump is right in there. Okay? He's right in there. This is a former loyalist to Trump, detaching from it, accusing the leader of betrayal, accusing the system of corruption, signaling that the base is angry. Of course, the base is angry. The midterms are going to flip. It is what it is. The midterms are going to flip. The seats, all of those seats. It would be nice if something changed. It would be nice. But I doubt these people would get their just due. But I got a feeling ain't nobody getting no just due. Okay? I just got a feeling that ain't no just due coming. Okay? Now, I'm waiting to find out what happened in the Georgia race. Is the Georgia race good or is the Georgia race not good? That's what I'm waiting to find out. Of course, I will be back if I find out anything, but I just wanted to bring you the Marjorie Taylor Greene story because her rose-colored glasses, those red glasses, came up off her face so well, so quick and so smooth. What happened? She found out more than what she wanted to find out. What happened? What took her out of that bubble? She just decided one day she was going to help those women. She decided she was going to help those women. And by helping those women, she went against Trump. And Trump went against her. He went hard against her, trying to get her to stop, trying to get her from signing the petition, to get her from not getting those Epstein files released. Once she decided it was going to be that way, he was like, you my enemy. And then that's when she figured out the MAGA movement don't mean shit. The MAGA movement is a slave to Donald Trump. They don't care about the truth. They don't care about lies. They don't care about facts. They don't care about nothing. They care about Donald Trump. They don't give a damn about nothing else. You can tell them the truth. You can lead them to the water, but that don't mean they're going to drink. And the biggest MAGA supporter right here is telling you there's some goofy shit going on, and Donald Trump knows about it, and Donald Trump is covering for his friends. So it is what it is. He's coming for his friends, and he's always covered for his friends. Y'all, hopefully you hit the like, share, and subscribe. We will be back. Of course, we're going to be back. There will be content, more content, of course. But hit that like, share, and subscribe. I will be back, of course.